Hello there, friends. Where last we left the $15 Grape iMac G3, we installed Yellow Dog Linux 2.0 from 1999. Well, today we're going to make that right by installing a modern SSD and macOS 9.2. Now, before we jump into this, I just want to give a quick shout out to another channel on here. If you like this kind of thing, you will definitely like this channel. And that is Billy the Kid. And I've linked one of his videos in the description below where he upgrades an SE30 with a Quadra 605 board and a Raspberry Pi to make literally the most amazing SE30 upgrade that I've ever seen. Alright, now let's jump into our upgrade. So these computers are actually kind of a pain to take apart. So I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. Reference instructions. First thing we need to do is take out this screw here underneath this rather convenient little handle. And we actually have to take this thing like all the way apart to get the hard drive out. So this is just a Phillips screw. And I think it's even a captive screw. Nope, not a captive screw. All right, one down. Now we should be able to take the bottom cover completely off. Ha. So that was supposed to come off really easily, and it did not. Fortunately, it doesn't look like it was broken, just really stuck on there. Alright, now we have to remove the DB15 video connector from the logic board, which will probably be easier. Yeah, we lost one clip. Oh well. These are thumb screws, but they're pretty hard to get. There we go. Screwdriver makes that a lot easier. Okay, now we have to remove the power cable, which is this guy. and the front panel connector, which is right down in here. All right, 2 more Phillips screws right here. And now we can just lift this straight out. Hey, it's the logic board assembly. Look at that. We've got our RAM. We've got our battery, which I should have got a replacement for when we took this whole thing apart. So we have another memory chip up here. We have, of course, our CD-ROM drive. And our hard drive, I think, is all the way in here. All right, to take the optical drive out, we're supposed to push it in, lift up, and pull forward. And it's just that easy. All right, once it's loose, disconnect the ribbon cable. And we're free. Okay, now to get into the actual hard drive. Gotta just remove these 2 Phillips screws here. These are really in here. So these 2 screws were extremely annoying. They were very much frozen, but I was able to get them unstuck with my cool bench wrench, which gave me a little bit of leverage to twist them out. So wow, that was a huge pain. Now we just disconnect our cables. And then we take out this retention spring here, which is the optical drive retention spring. And then we can lift the drive and it should come right out. Come on out. Jeez. That was obnoxious. I guess it was stuck on these little metal bits on the end. I just did not want to let go. Well, we're free. Let's see if we can figure out how to get the SSD in here. So I've got this adapter. I've actually got 2 of them, just in case something goes wrong. Now we have to make sure it's in single drive mode, which is this jumper here. So yeah, that is set to master. if you're considering trying this upgrade for yourself, you're going to need one of these PATA to SATA adapters. I just got this one off of Amazon. It was pretty inexpensive, but the most important thing, if you're looking for one for yourself, is that you find one that has this jumper. So this lets you choose between master and slave, and it needs to be on master. Some of these adapters don't have that, and I've read a lot of reports of those ones not working. All right, let's see how we can finagle this into this case. Well, it fits, but what do we do about this terrible caddy? I guess we can probably get one screw in there. These are pretty tight too. And there it is. The original Apple Quantum hard drive, the Quantum Fireball CR. Made in Ireland. Interesting. So I guess this can just kind of be jankily mounted in here. I guess one screw is better than no screws. And then for a little extra security, let's do some double-sided tape. There we go. Almost like it's from the factory. All right, let's get this thing back together. Why do I get the feeling that mine was much more difficult than it should have been? Okay, installing macOS 9.2 on the SSD. Now, since this is the first generation tray loading iMac G3, there is a caveat that we'll have to take care of. Now, this is revision D of that first generation, but it's still that first generation tray loader. And one weird quirk is that all of the system files have to be within the first 8 gigabytes of the drive. So the best way to do that is to make sure the boot partition is less than 8 gigabytes. You can install on more than 8 gigabytes of a boot partition, but over time, if some of your system files start to wind up outside of that first 8 gigabytes of the drive, weird stuff is going to start happening up to and including it's not going to boot. So we're going to start off by partitioning this SSD to have a 7 gigabyte boot partition, and then the rest of the drive can be for data. So we'll pop into drive setup and let's configure that. So list of drives, we've got our not initialized SSD. Let's initialize that with a custom setup. So right now we've got 122,104 megabytes of total capacity. That's pretty awesome for $19.99. But let's set this up with 2 partitions. So the first partition, and we have to do this in megabytes, and I wrote this down because I'm no good at math. We have to do 7,168 megabytes, which will give us a nice 7 gigs. So 7,168. All right. And now let's expand this to be the whole rest of it. All right, and both of them are macOS extended. I guess I can't rename them from here, but all right. Okay. Initialize. Initialization was successful. Amazing. All right, look at that. We've got both drives, Untitled and Untitled 2, right here on the desktop. So Untitled should be our, 6.99 gigabytes. That's going to be our boot partition. Might as well rename this now, Mac OS. And then let's rename the other one to, I don't know, storage? No. Fun stuff. Perfect. And now let's see if we can install, and let's also see how much faster this install is compared to when we installed it on that old original hard drive. So let me just pull up my stopwatch. All right, select a destination disk. Continue. The disk is Mac OS. Our 7 gig disk. Select. And let's start. This is not very scientific, but I'm not a very scientific person. Oh my God, come on. Oh my God. All right. Restart that. To continue installing the software, I must agree to the 20-year-old license agreement. Agree. Go. Start. There. All right, close enough. So time remaining about 18 minutes. That's about what it said last time on the clunky platter hard drive. Interesting. Uh-oh. Not only did that take forever, 43 minutes, but now it says the helper application installer engine unexpectedly quit. The installation process has been stopped. That's not good. Some software has not been installed. Maybe just the English speech recognition was not installed, so skip it. No more software to install. Okay, all installations that could be completed are finished. Some installations could not be completed. Press stop to halt the installation process. Okay, I think we might have Mac OS on here. Yeah, I think we were successful. So let's boot this into the first time boot, do the first time boot stuff, and then we'll reboot it and see how long it actually takes to start up. Well, that's not good. Right away we got this bomb error message. Sorry, a system error occurred. Multi-user startup address error. And it wants me to temporarily turn off extensions by restarting and holding the Shift key. So let's give that a shot. All right, we should be booting now with no extensions turned on. Nope, we're booting off the CD for some reason. Well, since we're here, maybe we can run a utility and just check on that boot partition. Well, seems to be good. I guess let's restart and take the disk out. Well, this is not a good sign. Let's try one more reboot. Nope, all right. I guess we need to try to reinstall. All right, this time let's customize it and deselect a lot of the crazy stuff. No text-to-speech, personal web sharing, Apple remote access, and no speech recognition. All right, but everything else gone. And start. Okay, so now we've got a completely different problem. This time, problems were encountered reading the source file big system morsels, in quotes. Installation cannot continue. Okay. So given that we've had two completely different points of failure. Depending, I guess the difference is we selected different stuff this time. I'm going to try a different install CD, which is going to require me to burn it. Well, the third try is the charm, I guess. I was finally able to install macOS 9.2 on the third try, and it hadn't even occurred to me before that maybe the problem was the CD-ROM drive and not the SSD. So the only reason I figured that out was after I installed macOS, I was installing a bunch of games and stuff, and about 1 out of every 5 times when I'd insert the CD-ROM, it would fail to read it and give me an error. And then I'd reinsert the CD-ROM and it would work. So I think the CD-ROM drive on this thing needs to go. It's mostly working, but every now and then it fails to read a disk or doesn't read a disk properly. But it is maybe 5 times faster than the old clunky hard drive was. It feels a lot faster in everything except for startup for some reason. It feels like it starts up in exactly the same amount of time, if not a tad bit slower. So I don't know what that's about, but everything else, super fast. And if we pull up our system profiler, we can see that we've got everything just as we wanted it. So our Mac partition, capacity 7 gigabytes, and then our fun stuff partition, capacity 112.23 gigabytes. I've been installing games onto the fun stuff partition. And then, of course, all of our applications onto the macOS 9 partition. And this is awesome. So I highly recommend if you have an iMac and you want a fast iMac, upgrade to an SSD, a cheap SATA SSD off of Amazon, and then a cheap SSD adapter. All right, so why don't we open up some games and see how fast they feel. well, I think that about does it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching me struggle to upgrade this iMac to an SSD. In the end, we were successful and it worked out really well, and I'm super excited about it. I'm going to have a lot of fun playing old Mac games on this computer. So if you like this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks for watching. Are you helping? Are you watching? Are you watching? Yes.